Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about all the books that I've ever given 5 stars, which is not very many considering how many books I've read in my lifetime. I'm very picky when it comes to rating 5 stars, and some of them are kind of obvious, like nostalgic books, but yeah, so let's get into it. So for some stats here, I've read 531 books that I've tracked anyways. Out of those 531, these are the ones that I gave 5 stars. I do read a lot of manga, and there's a couple manga that I've given 5 stars, but I'm not going to put those in this video because I know a lot of people don't read manga, except one. There is one manga that I'll just put as an honorable mention. It's called The Walking Cat, A Cat's Eyes View Apocalypse, and it's literally just The Walking Dead, but put a cat in there, and it's like from a cat's POV, and it's actually really adorable and kind of sad. But I give that 5 stars, so that's like my honorable mention. But yeah, so I have a huge stack here, and we're just gonna go through. Some books are series, and I didn't give the entire series 5 stars, so I'll just show you the ones that I did. Also, it's been so long since I've read most of these books, and I'm probably gonna at some point in time reread a bunch of these and see if they're actually still 5 stars now that I'm older, because a lot of these I read when I was like 12 or 15 or something. So like starting off is ACOTAR, which I know a lot of people love, and I loved it when I first read it, but also this was the very first fantasy book I ever read, and I read it when I was like 17 or 18. I've seen like snippets or like videos, and I've gone back and read a couple snippets in the book, and it's like super cringy, so I know now that if I read it again, it's not going to be 5 stars, but it was fun while it lasted. So there's ACOTAR, A Court of Mist and Fury, which is book 2, which is everyone's favorite. I also gave this one 5 stars. But my favorite out of the entire series was book 3, ACOWAR, which, I'm sorry, A Court of Wings and Ruin, to be technical. This is my favorite book out of the entire series, and it's the first book I ever tabbed, and I had a blast doing it. And you know what? I feel like, honestly, this is a big if, but this one actually might still be 5 stars if I reread it, which I will at some point. But yeah, those 3, and then the book 4 and 5 were no. It seems like the longer the series goes on, just the worse it gets. So yeah, those were all by Sarah J Maas. Then to take it back to a classic, I have Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. This is, obviously it's Peter Pan. I think everyone knows what Peter Pan is. All 3 of these books are a trilogy, and they are all movies, and they're all by Jenny Han, and that is To All the Boys I Loved Before. So we have To All the Boys I Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You, and Always and Forever, Laura Jane. And I'm pretty sure most people know what these are about. If you don't, it's basically about a girl who writes these love letters, and then she hides them in her like little box, and then someone gets in the box and sends out all the love letters to the boys that she's liked over the years, and then they all like come to her and were like, hey, I didn't know you had feelings for me, and then she has to deal with that. So okay, and then a lot of the books I have, I've realized, are all dystopian books because I am obsessed with dystopian. We'll start off with The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This is my OG copy. It is so gross and ratchet. Like, it's all stained, and the pages are all kind of like, ugh. And the pages are starting to get yellow, and it's kind of crinkled. I got, this book is, how old is this book? Like 13, 14 years old. I read this when I was 11, and I loved it. And this is the first book that I read that got me into reading, like hardcore. And yeah, so I'm always trying to find a book that gives me the feeling that I got when I read this. So this was obviously 5 stars. Along with book 2 and 3, Catching Fire and Mockingjay, obviously all 3 were 5 stars. And then, what was it? Like 12 years later, Suzanne Collins came out with A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I absolutely loved this. I tabbed it, but I didn't have the heart to actually write in it, so I just only used tabs. It was so good. I was so excited. It was 5 stars, and I loved like all the parallels from like this story versus the actual trilogy. It was just so cool. And then when the movie came out, the movie was just as great. And I'm really excited for The Sunrise on the Reaping, which comes out in, I think, like 2 months now. I'm super hyped, and I'm kind of scared that it's not going to be as good, because, you know, I don't feel like it can be. I'm just nervous that, like, are they all going to be just that good, you know? Is she going to really be able to do it? But we'll see. Down my journey of loving The Hunger Games, I discovered Battle Royale. It comes way before The Hunger Games. I think this was released in 1999, and it's by Kusum Takami, I believe is how you say his name. Obviously it's, I believe, don't quote me. I'm pretty sure this is Japanese, but it was translated, and it's literally just like the Hunger Games, but a little bit more gory. And there's 48 students, 24 girls, 24 boys, and they fight to the death. But the difference between the Hunger Games and this is that even though this is a lot more gory, there's not really an explanation of why their government decides to do it. It doesn't really get explained very well. With the Hunger Games, though, obviously it gets explained, like, with reason why they have the reaping and stuff, but this one doesn't. But I still had a lot of fun reading this. Obviously tabbed it. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I'll probably reread it soon eventually. It was a lot of fun. And next we have The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey, just this book. It's actually a trilogy, and it was turned into a movie, and only the first book got a movie. Book 2 I read, and it was awful. I felt like they were only in one location, and they only did like 2 or 3 different things in the entire book. The whole book was pointless. And I still have book 3 and have yet to read it. I do know how it ends. I've been spoiled for it, so I'm not really that eager to finish it, but I will, just to say that I did. But yeah, just this book was 5 stars. The rest were no. Basically, if you don't know what this is about, it's basically when aliens kind of like take over our world, and they have the 5th wave, and I believe it's like there's a tsunami, like all the electric goes out. What was the rest? Oh yeah, a plague happened and a lot of people died. But yeah, basically this little girl loses her brother along the mess, and it's her trying to get back to him during all of this chaos. And then another one kind of just similar to that is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Book 1, absolutely 5 stars. Book 2 and 3, no. I read book 2. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Book 3, I have yet to finish. I got halfway through book 3 and I never finished it. I did watch all the movies, and I'll admit that the second movie, Insurgent, was actually really good. But I don't remember. I was young. I was like maybe 13 or 14, I think, when they came out. I remember reading the book and being so bored because it was very political, but kind of like a boring political. The movie came out and it was so action-packed, and I'm like, well, was that what I read? Like, I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I remember book 5. I remember book 1 being 5 stars, and I'm sure it still is, because this one's just so fun. It's so nostalgic. And if you don't know what Divergent is, basically it's about a girl named Triss, and their world's divided up into 5 factions, which is 5 different groups of people. They all have their own little unique thing. There's the smart people, the brave people, the honest people, like farmers and stuff, and you choose when you become a certain age. She is divergent, which means she can belong to more than one faction of the group, and divergents are like a big no-no. They're a threat to the government, and so the government tries to hunt her down and kill her as she goes throughout. But yeah, it's fun. Next is a book that probably not a lot of people will know about. It's called The Girl Who Dared to Think by Bella Forrest. Pretty sure Bella Forrest is a ghost author because she has so many books, and I've never seen the woman before. And they're all kind of odd, but this one is one of her dystopian ones, or their dystopian, I don't know. But this was a lot of fun, and this book is a 7-book series, and I've only read book 1 so far. But I remember I gave it 5 stars. It's basically like they live in a tower. There's like this government system, and you have like a watch, and basically the government can like read your thoughts. If you have a bad thought about the government, you get like punished, and then if you keep doing it, eventually they will kill you. And so the main character's parents are both working like in the government, so she has to be like extra careful about how she thinks, and obviously she's kind of a rebel. She doesn't like the way the government's working, so it's just like her throughout the book trying to overcome the government and have them not figure out her thoughts. I had a blast reading this, and I'll probably reread it again before I go to book 2 because I don't remember a lot of the things that happen. Next is, I love this book. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. It is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett, or it's either Liggett or Liggett, I don't know. But so on their 16th birthday, girls are forced to go into the woods. Girls are known to have witch powers, like they become witches when they turn 16 or something like that. And so their town, because it's not like a government, it's a very small village, they force the 16-year-old girls to go out into the woods, and they have to spend, I can't remember how long it is out there. I think it is a year. I think they actually they're supposed to spend a year out there in the woods and just survive, and obviously a lot of them die because they're 16. They don't know how to survive off the wilderness. If they can survive, when they come back, their witch powers are technically gone. But it actually, you know, there's a big twist, and there's a lot more to it than just that. But actually a lot of fun. I love this book. Next is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This book is it's very 100, so like people either really love it or people absolutely despise it, and most of the people despise it, but I actually loved it. There's like a huge plot twist at the end that kind of makes or breaks the book for people. Basically it's about a girl, her and her friends, her cousins, or what, I can't remember if they're cousins or friends. I think it's a little bit of both. There are some friends and some cousins. They all have this private island that they go to every summer because all their parents are rich, and they all just hang out. But there was an accident that happened, and the main character can't remember what exactly happened, but so she wants to go back to the island to try and retrace her steps and figure out what happened because she can't remember. I give this 5 stars because I never saw the ending coming, and I loved it so much. So now, one of my all-time favorite trilogies ever, and I've only actually read it once, but like I love it so much, and I'm definitely rereading it this year. Kind of like ACOTAR, I'll see snippets of this book too, and like the difference between ACOTAR and this one is when I see snippets and I like reread certain parts, like it still hits after all these years. That would be The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I read this like maybe 2019, 2020, I think. So not that long ago, but long enough to where I don't remember everything, but I remember like most things. Now, let me tell you, this book, plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, like, and you couldn't trust anybody, and I loved it. It's obviously fantasy. It's very political, so if you don't like a lot of politics, then this probably isn't for you. A lot of people think this is an enemies to lovers. It's really not. I mean, there is some romance later on down the road, but it's not enough to make like worth reading it if you read it for the fantasy, basically. But yeah, I love this. So there's The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing, all by Holly Black. I gave all 3 5 stars. Loved them. She has come off with a spin-off series about one of the characters in this series, like when they're older, and it's called The Stolen Heir. I've yet to read it. I'm really excited. I don't know if it's going to be the exact same, because I've read some other stuff by Holly Black, and it seems like most of the stuff that she writes that's not in like the Elfham universe or whatever is not as good, so I'm nervous about it. Speaking of nostalgia, we have The Maze Runner by James Dashner. A Maze Runner, kind of exactly what it sounds like. It was about Thomas, the main character, and he wakes up in a elevator, and he gets put up into this big maze. He has no idea what's going on, and it's just a bunch of guys, and they tell him basically that they've been there forever. They have different jobs, and some of them are the maze runners, which run around the maze and try to track a way out. And so he becomes a maze runner, and it's about him trying to escape this maze. And it's actually a lot of fun. There's movies if you haven't seen them, but it's pretty old. It goes along with The Hunger Games and Divergent. So I gave this one 5 stars. I read book 2, which is The Scorched Trials. Wasn't the biggest fan of that. Death Cure is book 3, which I also gave 5 stars. So just book 1 and book 3. And then there's like a continuation, and it like, there's short stories about other characters. I think that he did a spin-off called, I can't remember what it's called, but I read it and it was awful. It was The Maze Cutter. Yes, I hated that book. It was so bad. Okay, oddly enough, I don't know why, but Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi is book 3 in the Shatter Me series. I gave this book 5 stars and none of the other ones. I don't know why. I only read the first 3 books, and then I read one of the novellas. When I read this, it was just 3. And then she started coming out with more, and now there is 6 main books and then like 3 novellas, and I believe there's even a new one coming out called Watch Me or something. I have no idea what that is. I don't know if it's a spin-off, if it's a continuation, if it's a special edition. I have no idea, but she just keeps expanding. And I do own almost all of the books, and I'm gonna do a read through and reread. Shatter Me, if you didn't know what it's about, it's basically about this girl named Juliet, and she has this power where if she touches anybody, like skin-to-skin contact, she kills them. And it's about her trying to come to terms with that, and she's like a prisoner. And then I can't remember what happens after that, but I know there's 2 like guys, main love interests, so it's like a love triangle, and everyone loves it. But yeah, this trilogy I read probably a couple of years ago, and it's honestly, I hardly remember anything about it, but I think I read the whole trilogy in a week, and I loved it. And they're kind of well, I guess they're not huge books, but they're kind of chunkier. It was just a whirlwind, but it's called, okay, there's 2 titles for this. So a lot of people say it's Chaos Walking, but the actual name of it is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. So this is book 1, and basically it's about a boy who grew up in a town where there's no girls, it's all just boys, and they can all hear each other's thoughts. Like they can like hear them and read them and stuff, so you can't really hide anything. He's told that their town is the only one that exists, and then he's out in the woods one day and he discovers a girl, and he didn't know girls existed, so he's like really shocked, and he can't hear her thoughts, and so he's really confused. And then someone mentions a town so that's not theirs, and so he's like, my family has been lying to me my entire life, what's going on? And it's about him trying to discover what's going on and why certain people can read minds and others can't, and it's really fun. And they did make a movie. I never watched it. I think, honestly, not gonna lie, the real reason I read this book is because they were making a movie and Tom Holland was the main character, and I was gonna watch it for that. And then I'm like, well, let's be cool, let's read the book first. Read the first book, absolutely loved it. Went back and got book 2 and 3, read those, loved them, 5 stars. In fact, I read this before I even started annotating, like actually annotating with tabs and stuff. And I believe book 2 is The Ask and the Answer. And as you can see, I put like, there's like 1 tab in there, and it's really just a sticky note of like a quote I liked. So I was like making up my own tabbing system at that point. And this one has 1 tab also. This is book 3, which is The Monsters of Men. I love these. In fact, I'm probably gonna reread them again at some point. I just had so much fun, and I'm scared to reread them because I'm worried that they're not going to live up to what they were when I first read them. I had a blast, and in fact, I kind of want to read more of his stuff. He has a lot of books, a lot of just odds and ends, so yeah, this trilogy is really good, 5 stars. And then more of a more romancy smut side of things. I don't tend to read a lot of romance, and when I do, it's usually not very good. I'm very picky, and it cringes me out a lot real easily. I have a hard time giving romance 5 stars, and I've been trying to get more into it, but it's really hard. I have a hard time reading it unless there's like a fantasy aspect or like a paranormal aspect. But there is one series that I've read most of that I loved, and that is I don't know what it's called, but it's book 1 is called The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, 5 stars. And then book 2 is called The Bride Test, which is also 5 stars. And then book 3 is called The Heart Principle, which I haven't read yet. I'm just kind of saving it for a rainy day. But chances are it will be 5 stars. If not, then 4 for sure. I try to see if this author wrote anything else. Nothing. I'm just patiently waiting to see if she writes anything else. But The Kiss Quotient basically is about a girl who has Asperger's. So Stella, the main character, has Asperger's, and she doesn't really understand like how she has a hard time with romance and like with, you know, falling in love and dating people. So she hires like this escort to teach her how to be better at dating, so she can improve, I guess. She basically looks at everything like it's a statistic, and he's just like, you know, an average dude, so he's like, you know, it's new to him too, and but it's really cute. I love it. It's definitely, there's definitely spice. Yeah, it's great. And then The Bride Test is pretty much same kind of premise. Main character has, no, this one is autistic. This character is autistic, and I don't remember what this one's about, if I'm being honest, but I know there's a guy. I think they have to live together or something and pretend to be married or something. I don't remember exactly. It was just as good, 5 stars. So yeah, these books are great. Okay, next is one of my favorite authors, even though I've only read 2 of her books and they were both 5 stars, and I literally bought every single book that she ever made. And I'm gonna plan on doing a whole reading vlog for them because I just love the way she writes, and I just know she's a great author. I'm even gonna get her new book. She has a new book coming out in July, I believe, and I'm getting it. But it is V.E. Schwab or Victoria Schwab. She goes under 2 different names. But most of you probably know her as V.E. Schwab, and one of her most popular books is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. That's what most people read. If you're not really a fantasy person, a lot of people start with this. She has a all these other series that you can read. But I also started with this. I didn't intend to, it just kind of happened. I really liked the idea of this book, and it was before I even started really reading fantasy. But this is great. I love this book. And basically it's about a girl named Addie LaRue, and I can't remember why exactly she does it because it's been so long, but she makes the deal with it's not the devil, but it might as well be. It's like this big shadow figure, and she makes a deal with him that, so reading the synopsis, I guess she just makes the bargain to live forever, but I don't remember the reason why. There was a reason behind it, but she makes this bargain, and she was warned before she made the bargain not to make deals with strangers in the dark, and she does meet the stranger in the dark, and she makes the bargain, and of course there is a trick to the bargain, obviously. Basically, she gets to live forever. Of course, she gets her wish, but nobody can remember her. So basically she's invisible, and it's about her going throughout the centuries. Like I believe it starts in 1714 in France. That's where she starts out at, and then it goes all the way up until like kind of now, I guess. And it's about her exploring the world and dealing with people that don't remember her, and it was just so cool to see how it was done. And eventually she does come across someone who does remember her, and she's like shook like that could happen, and it's years later down the road, and so it's about her trying to figure out why this person can remember her but no one else can, and it's really good. And then the other book that I read by V.E. Schwab was Gallant. It's literally Coraline, just creepier. Yeah, that's the best. I can't even remember what happens. I just know that it literally was like, it felt just like Coraline. I'm gonna reread it again this year when I do my vlog. I'm gonna reread both books by her. But there's a lot of ghosts in this, and the way she describes them is so realistic. Like, if you believe in ghosts at all, which I know a lot of people don't, I do. I believe in ghosts. And like the way she describes seeing them is a lot like how I've done. Like you just, like out of the corner of your eye, and then when you look, they disappear. And it was just so cool because it felt so real. Like it felt like V.E. Schwab experienced this in real life and like put it into a book. Which I don't even know if that's the case. It could be completely like her idea of fictional. I don't know. But it was just so fun. And I had a blast reading it. And the only thing I don't like about this book is its format. It's such a weird shape. It's like a square, like here, hold on. Let me get a hardcover. Here, you'll get a sneak peek of the next. Like, this is a normal hardcover, and then like, there's this. Like, it's so much shorter. Like, can you see that? And I don't know, but this book is cool. It has like an entire, like in the middle section of the book, there is like art and stuff, which is important in the story. It's like a story inside of a story. It's really cool. But it's a very quick read. I think I read it in one day. But yeah, so Gallant by V.E. Schwab. And then, as I showed you before, I'll show you these. So these will probably always be 5 stars because I read them once, loved them, and then right before book 3 came out, I reread both of the book 1 and 2 again, and they were still 5 stars, so they'll probably stay 5 stars. So that is Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is about a girl named Evangeline. She wants to get married, I believe, but something happens with her husband. She ends up making a deal with the Prince of Hearts, which is Jax. It's like a spin-off. It's a spin-off of Caraval, which is her other trilogy I read. It's not as good as this. But some people might disagree. Some people might like Caraval better. But this one was just so fun. It's literally romantic-y, honestly. If you want to be completely honest, it's romantic-y. But I had so much fun reading this. So there's book 1 and book 2. And then book 3 was a letdown. Book 3 was the finale. And it was so good up until the end. And then the ending doesn't even make sense. And I think a lot of people agreed that it just wasn't... It kind of defeated the purpose of the entire series. The main love interest, Jax, he can't kiss anybody because if he kisses anybody that's not his true love, they die. So like, it's like they fall in love, but like they can't be together. So yeah, that's that. It's fun. Book 3 is fun too. It just, the way it ended didn't make sense. Like, there was a plot hole, you know, so, but yeah, these books are good. Okay, this is so random. I was going through all my 5-star ratings, and this is the only book out of the entire series that I gave 5 stars, and it's The Crown by Kiera Cass. If you don't know, this is like I think this is book 5, if I remember right, and it's a spin-off. It's considered book 5, but it's a spin-off, and it's from The Selection, if you've ever heard of The Selection, which is super corny, kind of cringy, but somehow it's just super fun. And honestly, which is probably why this one's 5 stars and the rest aren't, I don't even remember why I gave this one 5 stars. I think this one made me cry or something. If you don't know what The Selection's about, it's about a girl named America Singer, and hear me out. She's a singer. She's from America, hence the term America Singer. That's where the cringe starts. It's about a bunch of girls who want to get Prince, I think his name's Maxon. He's trying to find a wife, and instead of just like actually going and getting a wife or having an arranged marriage because he's royalty, they have this big competition where all these girls can sign up and they'll get handpicked by certain people, and then they'll like fight online, or not online, but I guess kind of like live in their community. to be the winner, I guess, and marry the prince. So it's literally like The Bachelorette or The Bachelor. I don't know, I don't watch the show, but it's literally like that, but kind of in a fantasy setting. There's a little bit of political intrigue in there throughout. And then book 4 and it's a trilogy, and then book 4 and 5 is a spin-off about the daughter of the prince and who he marries, but then it's the boy version, and this is the last book in that duology. So, but yeah, 5 stars. Don't remember why I gave it 5 stars, but yeah. And then the other book I have that's not really, I don't even remember what happens in this. I don't even remember what this is about. But it's The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh, and it's considered a quartet. There's 4 books. I've only ever read this one. I own all 4 of them, but just never got around to it. There's vampires. I know that much. It's literally vampires, and there's romance. And I gave it 5 stars. And I think I gave it 5 stars because of the way the writing was and just how it felt very different. And it's set in New Orleans, which I thought was a really cool setting. And maybe that's the reason why I gave it 5 stars. I don't even remember. It was 1872. It was like an old time period. Vampires, New Orleans, good writing, 5 stars. And that's all I can tell you because I don't remember it. But I'm going to reread it again at some point in order to finish the rest, because otherwise I'll just be reading book 2 and not knowing what's going on. Then I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, which is a more recent read. I read it at the tail end of last year, I believe, and it was 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I'm halfway through book 2, and it's looking like it's going to be 5 stars unless something drastic happens at the end. But basically, it is about a girl named, her name is Iris, and his is Roman. Basically, those are the 2 main characters, and they're fighting for a spot at the newspaper. There's 2 different newspaper places, but they're both journalists, and they're both fighting for the #1 spot to be the investigative journalist. And so it's about them being rivals, and then something happens and her brother's at war, and she hasn't gotten a letter back from him, and so she thinks he might be dead or that he might be lost, and she wants to find out what happened. So she signs up to be a journalist for the war, and she gets stationed out in the war, and it's about her investigating. And then Roman realizes that he actually is in love with her, and so he also gets stationed out in the war, and it's about them trying to find each other. And it's just really good. Like, the writing's really done really well, and there is like this like, I don't know, I can't remember if it's Greek or Norse mythology, but there's a little bit of that. There's some gods, and the gods are the ones controlling the wars, and there's different sides. Okay, next I have this random one. I got this box set of a bunch of like small, tiny, short classics, and I give this one 5 stars. It's How to Use Your Enemies by Baltasar Gracian. I have no idea what year this came out in. It could be so ancient, but I had a lot of fun reading it. It's just, I don't know, it's how to use your enemies, and there's so many good like quotes in here. Win someone's affection and their respect will follow. A sensible person must adapt the trappings of both body and soul to the fashion of the times, even if the past seems better. So yeah, it's kind of like probably not everyone's fave, but I don't know, I loved it. So yeah, 5 stars for this. And then I just have a couple of thrillers left. So next I have The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And this is 5 stars because I didn't see the plot twist coming, and that was the reason I give it 5 stars, because a lot of thrillers are very predictable. So basically it's about a woman, and she doesn't talk, hence The Silent Patient. So basically she kills her husband out of thin air for no reason at all, and then she never says a word after that. And so basically the whole story is about I guess you would call him I don't know if he's a journalist or if he's like a cop or an FBI agent, I can't remember, but it's just him trying to figure out her story and trying to get her to talk to him and see what happened and why she just randomly killed her husband. But it was actually really good. I loved it. It was 5 stars, and I don't know if I reread it if it would still be 5 stars. It's been a long time, but I had a blast. We're getting to the end. Actually, I lied, we're not getting to the end, because I think there was a couple that I read digitally that I don't own. So let me look real quick. What, honey? Hold on, I can let my cat in or he's gonna be upset. Come on, let's go. Come on. There you go. Say hi. Say hi. Okay, go play. So I was looking by Goodreads, and I did read The Woman in Me by Britney Spears, which is her memoir, and I actually really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was written by her. There's a lot of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's a lot of talk about if she actually wrote it or not. I don't know. I don't even care. I just thought it was a good book. It was 5 stars, and it was very sad. It really dove deep into her life, and you got to see a lot of things that the public never saw. It was good though. Another book I read was One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I believe 5 students in detention, and then 1 kid just randomly dies, and the other 4 are blamed. They're trying to figure out who killed that kid and how they did it, because he just like keeled over and see. It was good. It was a mystery. It was a thriller mystery. I've read other books by her that aren't as great. I think that was like her one good one. She continued the series and made it like 3 or 4 books, and I just didn't care. I read book 2. It wasn't as good. I gave up. But yeah, so I gave that one 5 stars. I guess that was those 2 were the only ones digitally. But okay, so next I have Nightfall by Jake Halpern and Peter Kujawinski, I believe is how you say his name. And these 2 authors together are just great. Like, they made 2 books together, Nightfall, and then I think the other one was called Edgeland, which is kind of like a spin-off. I don't even really remember what this one was about, but it actually creeped me out. Like, for a book to actually kind of spook me, it takes a lot, so this was definitely 5 stars. So, looking back at the synopsis, I guess they live on an island where there's sunrise comes only once every 28 years. And so, wait, what? Okay, I got confused because on the back it says the sunrise comes only every 28 years. But then it, like 2 paragraphs down, it says that there's 14 years of unforgiving night. So I don't know how that happened. I think it would be 28 years. So maybe there's, yeah, that doesn't make any sense now that I'm looking back at it. But anyways, so you can't get stuck on the island at night, because if you do, bad things happen. And so the whole town gets up and they set sail to leave the island for this odd random night, odd random amount of years. And a couple of the kids get left behind, and then the dark comes and there's a bunch of scary things that happen. But I remember giving it 5 stars. I'm very confused about this year thing, but it's been a long time since I read it, but it did spook me, so yeah, it was good. 5 stars. And then I have another one of my favorite authors. I've read a lot of her books. This one was like one of my faves. It was His or Hers by Alice Feeney. Bro, I don't remember what this book was about, and there's no synopsis. I completely forgot. It's His and Hers. It's basically, there's a mystery going on. I don't remember what happened. I think someone died. And it's the wife and the husband's sided story, and they're both blaming each other, and you switch between their POVs. And it's actually really good. There's a lot of plot twists. You have a hard time of knowing like what's going on, but like in a good way. And I gave it 5 stars. I wish I could tell you more, but I don't remember, and there's no synopsis on the back of the book, and I don't feel like looking it up. So, and then the last book I have is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was the, I think, 2nd book of his that I read. This one's really good. It's a ghost story about a haunted house, basically. And it's about, I believe there's different POVs, if I remember right. There's a little girl, and she remembers her house being haunted. And then her dad is telling her that it was like all in her head. And it switches between her POV and his POV. But it's like one of those books, if I remember right, it's like one of those books where like every chapter ends on like a mini cliffhanger. So you're like, wait, what happens? And then you have to read the next chapter. And it does that so much that I just flew through the book really fast. It was fun. It was creepy. I liked it. I gave it 5 stars. So yeah, those are all the books I've ever given 5 stars. Not as many as, I'll add it up and let you know. So yeah, that out of 531 books in my lifetime. Not as many, not a lot as it should be, but yeah, I had fun. I'm gonna reread a lot of these eventually, and guarantee that a good chunk of them are not 5 stars anymore. That just happens as you grow and get older and your tastes change. If you like this video, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one.